Welcome to the Academic Architect PDO podcast. I gave it my best. I gave it my best. Not true. You didn't give it your best. Don't worry, I'm guilty too, because I haven't given it my best. And in a very strong sense, I believe we haven't even tried hard enough to help our children to align with the purpose they were created for. Instead, we have left their education up to the school system, even though we have a strong hunch that classroom learning alone is not good enough. Let's not even touch the fact that we have totally refused to do our parts to help balance the classroom instruction while our children are at home. Why are we so okay with mediocrity? Why do we allow our children to walk the same road that we walked when we understand the struggle and the limited outcomes? We break the vow when we allow our children to take the lead role as dictator of their own learning. Now, at those very moments, even when our kids fail to hold up their end of the bargain to earn good grades or to do some chore, still we allow them to access their rewards and watch TV rather than reading to improve their accuracy, fluency, or comprehension. May I speak openly and honestly? Do you know who runs the world? Innovators and critical thinkers who are able to think outside the box and come up with solutions. Our kids are not critical thinkers because they don't read. And we enable them to be non-readers. If our kids don't read, they won't imagine. They won't dream. They won't innovate. But you know what they will do? They will work for someone else who does. And they will jump on the pity party bus and hop about on the systemic racism crash, forever in denial that they are living the life that they prepared for. Have we given our best to educating our children? Based on the school performance data, many of our children have severe learning gaps. And I feel quite confident in making the generalized statement that every parent is fully aware of their children's academic deficiencies because the schools provide explicit details. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Even if we cannot afford stellar tutoring, are we reorganizing our schedules to make more time to take our kids to the public library? When we reflect on the past school holidays, when opportunities for leisure times have presented, have we chosen play over practice? Each year, without fail, we fill up those camps that offer 100% playing and zero learning. Meanwhile, the children with all their learning gaps and deficiencies play their little hearts out all summer long and fall further away from their academic standing and return to school with a greater deficit. How do we not see how much of a punishment this really is? Is this how we show love? By failing to prepare someone we claim to adore to live a prosperous life? Knowing that our children get only one childhood. Why do we do this? You know why? Because it's what our children want. Just give them what they want because that's what love is, right? Giving someone what they want rather than what they need. Now, even when it comes to tutoring, we tend to choose the random tutoring option that makes little to no impact on our children's learning, simply because it was just enough to make us feel good about ourselves and to soothe our conscience with the fallacy that we're trying. And sometimes we choose against rigorous learning opportunities to avoid upsetting our kids' routine, because that would in turn upset us and make things a bit hectic. And so instead, we allow our children to make decisions that will negatively impact their future aspirations. In failing to prepare our children for their futures, we are preparing them to fail. Parents, don't act like we don't know. People get the life that they prepare for. No one prepares to be a neuroscientist and ends up as a custodian. And as a disclaimer, there's nothing wrong with being a custodian or even someone who picks up the garbage on Saturday mornings. I believe that if that's their gift and their talent, and if they're passionate about cleaning floors in neighborhood streets, then they're living their purpose, just like anyone else. No job is more important than another job, because we're all a part of a big system, and every one of us has their place in life, and we have to operate in our own space, because trying to operate in someone else's space will just mean that we have a bunch of empty spaces with no one else. No one else can fill them except the person who needs to fill it. And so if you're a custodian, or if you pick up trash and that's your life purpose, then you're doing a lot better than the fake doctor who is practicing when that's not his passion or his call. And I can almost guarantee you, they're likely unfulfilled. Sure, they may have a lot of money, but they're empty. Pockets full, pockets full, heart empty. Sometimes we feel like good parenting means co-parenting with a child, but that's a setup for a terrible letdown. The worst parenting entails enabling failure through compromising. When we decide to get comfortable in compromising, we convince ourselves that the 6 hours that kids spend in school is enough, and any extra school learning would be overkill. Now, fast forward this same child in middle school. And now we begin to realize that what the teachers told us years ago when the child was in grade 1 is now evidence. Worst of all, now we realize that just as the teacher tried to warn us about, our middle schooler is completely lethargic, no energy, and uninterested in learning. What a shame. Because of our negligence and ignorance, their window of opportunity is almost sealed, and they have no appreciation for how education will help them to thrive. Can we at least admit that had we started instilling rigor in our children in grade 1, when the teachers begged us to supplement their learning, that our kids would have been in a better position? Or do we stand firm in our ignorance, still believing that age 6 was too young to begin? Now, this is what David Salsa meant when he said that a child's window of opportunity would close after a certain developmental stage. Now we have kids that gives us the dead stare. children with no direction who are thoroughly unequipped for their futures. And so I know that we want to believe that we're doing our very best to educate our children, but somehow deep down we know and believe we must do better. Thankfully, it's not too late. First of all, the fact remains that we may never get a child back on the original path because, depending on their developmental stage, they may have lost their passion for learning. However, what we can do is take advantage of the secondary learning plans. Let's cease from speaking death over our children. You know how we do. Child, them kids is grown. They know what they want. I done did my best. So they on their own. They are children. We cannot let them be on their own. So let's review what trying our best looks like. It looks like checking our children's Google Classroom, every evening and weekend to make sure they're on task and turning in all assignments. It means taking action to improve their grades when they fall short or off track and they get bad grades. It means taking them to the library on the weekends and listening to them read in the vehicle instead of handing them their phones. It means using their phones as a reward versus just handing it to them because we just can't be bothered. It means prioritizing our children's education because we know that is their life source. We know that they are going to get the life that they prepare for. We cannot deny that. We can't act like we don't watch our children on the sofa on Saturday mornings, on their phones from dusk to dawn, not doing any extra homework or extra studies. And we cannot pretend that we don't know where that's going to lead them. We can't pretend to believe that by some strange luck that they're going to grow up to be something out of a fairy tale. We have to be intentional about our children's success. We cannot rely on luck. Now, let's make our children succeed on purpose. Now, there's no question that we are busy and we have so much on our plates. And possibly every day we realize and we say to ourselves, something has to give. That something cannot be our children's future. That something cannot be our children's education. That is an unethical sacrifice. We have an ethical and moral responsibility to align our children with their purpose because there is a larger purpose being our commitment to fulfilling God's great plan. Truth moment. As a culture, we are really good at displacing messages. Many times we hear a really strong message and we connect with it. And in that moment, we know it's for us to take action. But once the messenger stops speaking, we're really good at displacing that feeling and going back to the old ways. This is very sad for our people because this is our downfall, failure to launch. We resist the urge to act or to take action. We displace the hunches and the calls to action. It's what we've done for years, for decades. That's what we did in response to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and to the voice of Harriet Tubman and to the voice of Rosa Parks. Parents, our ancestors have worked so hard to get us where we are. They did their best. And when I think about what Rosa Parks did, or when I think about the sacrifice that Dr. Martin Luther King made, just put his life on the line day and night. And when I think about Harriet Tubman continuously going back to rescue and to free slaves, risking her life, not taking a moment or a day just to be selfish. And when I think about our response and how we've become